Right, so these are the smaller machines. So initially these ones here, this is one we're going to be doing the designs for today, something similar to this. But of course, as I said, you wanted something on a budget. So today's video, we're not actually going to be making the whole thing out of brand new materials. As I say, watch a different video if you're wanting the brand new materials, design how to make them. We are going to be, however, using certain brand new materials amongst it. This is just today's video is going to show you how to make it on a budget. As I say, this is for people that can't afford to even buy brand new materials to even make it. Just make it from something you've already got at home. Alright, now the other thing is these smaller ones, we're actually going to, the prt for off-grid system, living in a caravan, living off-grid, running on solar grids, etc. You can run put your laptop inside here. So this is how we're going to be doing this on a budget. If you've got an old laptop lying around, if it's an old one or if it's a good one, if it's an old one, upgrade the RAM, put some bigger RAM in it, upgrade the hard drive, put an SSD in it, and watch my other videos on how to set it up, as a gaming machine. Today we're just going to be doing the plans on how to actually build the arcade casing and have the joysticks if you want them, or to have just the controllers. Now, if you're on a real tight budget, you can't afford the arcade buttons and that. A set of them, you're looking around $150, $160 with your wiring looms. So of course, let's say you're wanting to make it and you just can't afford that yet. What you do is you just put this down without drilling the holes. So you just have that flat and just put your PS. If you've already got PS3 controllers at home, they would end up being your controllers for the time being. In the future, you can drill the holes and add these controllers later on when you can afford to. So, as I say, on a budget, if you have got PS3 controllers lying around, you can just use them on this machine. Alright. And of course, you imagine if these other buttons aren't here, just having your controller sitting there and another one sitting there, you can just pick up and grab. Wire, you can have it on wire or wireless. Of course, quite handy. And then of course you can upgrade to this in the future when you can afford to. Alright. So as I say, the main way of doing it so you can save money. If you've got an old laptop lying around, initially if you haven't, you can buy a cheap little laptop. Well, I say cheap, laptops aren't that cheap. If you want a decent one, you can play PS3 and everything on it. You're going to be looking second hand at around sort of $500 to get a decent one. Maybe on the special, maybe you get one for $400. Brand new, you'll be looking at $1,500. A grand, $1,500 for a decent one, even more. It depends how far you want to go. But if you want one if you want one that will play all the way up to PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, other than that, if you've just got an old laptop lying around, as I say, you can pair it with that, and you end up having, you'll still be able to play PS2, normal Xbox, but the main thing is you'll be able to play the old arcade games. There'll be a few Sega of PS1, PSP as well. But we'll get to it. So, on a budget, how are we going to do this? As I say, if you've got PS3 controllers lying around, that's your first step. You won't have to worry about drilling the holes in the pad here. Alright, your next step will be you won't have to buy this screen just yet, because you're going to have your laptop screen in the background anyway. But do get the screen in the future. It's going to save a lot of hassles cleaning your screen all the time, all the dust, etc. Alright, and the whole idea is to make it look like an arcade machine, isn't it? Alright. Now remember, the other thing is, on a budget, let's say you don't want to rewire the speakers up to be up the top here. Okay, so what you can do is actually come down here and drill some holes. These here are actually lever rivets. So of course that's where the speakers are, actually on the laptop and behind there. Alright, but today's video, we're going to get an old set of drawers. As I say, we're going to be doing this on a budget. So, the only thing I can do on a budget, as I said, if you've got an old laptop lying around. Now the other thing is, if you haven't got a laptop lying around, and you can't afford as I say, on the cheap, you're going to $400-500 for a laptop in there. You could get a cheaper one if you're not worried about PS3 and Xbox 360. So you'll be able to pick up one for $100-200, and that'll play your retro games, etc. But make sure you get one that does have Bluetooth, so you can hook up your controllers to it, etc. But the other option is you can get one of the Intel Nukes. Alright, they're about $100 US. Have a look online. Won't say the exact shops, but anyway, have a look online, and you better find them. And they're a nice wee small unit, but then you are having to buy a screen separately. But that gives you the options to make it slightly bigger or whatever as well on different quality screens. But as I say, we're doing it on a budget, so with anything you got. So if you have got an old laptop lying around, that's what we're doing. So straight away you haven't got any cost. If you've got PS3 controllers lying around, all of a sudden still no cost. And now if you've got an old set of drawers lying around and you're not using them, it could even be the bedside drawers. Of course, what we're going to do now, we're going to get in and we're going to shape it, we're going to cut it down. Alright. So I'll give you all the measurements and everything, how to do it. You can copy everything the same. I've got no patents or anything on these designs. I've been making these for years. I didn't put any patents on, nothing like that. So everybody's free to copy the same patterns, designs measurements I give you. Alright. Alright, minimum requirements. What are you going to need to build it? Alrighty, ear protection if you're using power tools. Eye protection, of course. So you want safety goggles. I wear snow goggles as safety goggles, best safety goggles I've owned. Of course, they seal, stop anything getting in your eyes no matter what you're doing. So, snow goggles for me, but just safety glasses in general. Alright, so you want screws. Initially, if you haven't got screws and you've got nails, it's going to be quicker for you to hammer them in. The only problem is if you're using nails, you'll probably want glue as well. And after a while, the actual unit will end up getting wobbly and wonky if you're moving around too much, if you've only nailed it together. So my advice is to get the screws if you can. And just to show you here, I just went down the road. Here's a cheap bag and perfect screws. So what size we got here? Alright. Alright, so we've got 35mm screw there. And this one here, that's a 25, that can even be a 20. It's not highly important on that one. Alright, so as I say, this video is going to be turning that set of drawers, we're going to turn it into a game machine. Instead of using brand new materials. So as I say, so far you haven't used any costs. I think it's just something you got lying around the home, hopefully. I mean, the minimal, you could do it with if you haven't got a skill saw, you could do it with a hand saw, what's needed to be done. But you definitely want the jigsaw. You don't, that's for the curve. Otherwise you're going to have a big mission on your hand trying to get the curve done. Okay, the other thing you want is a drill. Of course you want your small drill bit, that's just to drill pilot holes so you don't split your wood when you're putting your screws in. Alright, and then you'll want a big giant drill bit, no, not too big and giant, but, and that's just to, once you've drilled your holes, you just drill it very lightly at the start. It's to make a wee indent for your screw to sit in so your screws go in flush, or they go in further, and you just fill it up with a bit of bog later on. Alright, now if you want a really nice finish, you don't have to, because the edges don't have to be that way. You can buy edging and just keep your cuts flat. But let's say you're wanting to make smooth edging. Alright, so you want to make it rounded. You could use a router as well. So also not necessary. Alright, next thing you want is a board that you can do a pattern on. Or if you want, you can just be doing it straight on the actual part that you're wanting to do. You can use a cardboard. It's got a big box if you want to do a pattern. As I say, if you're just making one machine, it's not going to matter. You can just measure it straight out on the boards. So, of course, the top board of the, let's say this was the top board of the Duchess. We're going to, the sideboard. So we want to turn it into two sideboards to make a game machine. So, first measurements. Alright, from the back to the front. So that's going to be the back of it. This is going to be the front of it. We're going to have the shape and everything put into it. Alright, so first measurement at the bottom. Of course, you want to be at the very bottom. You want to be making that at 400. Alright, let's go in here, go to 400. You're going to put a mark there. Alright, come up a little bit more. At 400. Do it again. You go, well, how long have I come up? Well, it doesn't matter, just go up about 100 mil, 150 mil. Alright, next measurement. Alright, so we've come across, we've gone 400. Alright, there's our marks. Next measurement, you want to come up and you want to go to 140. Alright, you can do it a bit lower, but 140 is just going to give you enough space. Alright, for when you've got your laptop in, and if you do the arcade buttons, etc. If you're not doing the arcade buttons and you're just going to do the PS3 controllers only, it's going to be like that forever. You could actually bring this right down to 120, even 110, or 100. You end up having enough room. But anyway, we're doing it at this measurement. This is 140. Alright, now you want to go back here to where your mark is here at your 400. Alright, you got another one up here. But we're going to come halfway along, wherever halfway is at the 200 mark. And what we're going to do there is we're going to measure up. Alright, so there's the halfway mark, right there. Alright, now we're going to measure up. And we want to go to 190. Alright, just put 190. Now, between this halfway mark and that mark, we're going to go halfway there and measure up. We're going to do the same here. Alright, and we're going to measure up 145. Alright. Right, now we're going to go halfway here, between this half and here, and that, remember, that's the back. Alright, so this is over to the front. What we're doing here is the pattern that's going to end up making the curve, and it's going to come round like that. Alright, so now we want to go halfway in between here, and you want to measure. Alright, now you want to do a 332. Come up, 300. Well, I mean 332, sorry, 320. Right, so we've got all them marks there. Now if we're to go back, you can see we've got a mark here, we've got a mark here, we've got a mark here, and we've got a mark here. So you can see where I'm going with this. There's a curve, right? But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do one more half measurement between here and here. So that was, so now we're going between that half and that half, alright? So it's going to be about, so it's 100, so it's going to be 150 mil from the edge. Alright, so we're going to come up 150, right where I drew the line. Okay, and then from here we're going to measure up, and we're going to do 230. Alright, that's it. Alright, so you can see now we've got a basic shape that we're going to be able to follow. So what you're going to do is just do this freehand, because remember with this one, if this is your first board, you can use this as the pattern for you to draw out your next one once you've cut this out, right? And then after that you're actually clamping them together, and you're going to sand both the left and the right side, so you've got them completely the right size. Alright, so what we'll do here, get yourself your straight edge, whether it be a bit of wood or whatever you're using. Of course the saw's got a 90 and a 45 on it, so alright. Okay, so we've got a line there. It's the very first part of it. You'll see here, there's those dots. So what you want to do now, before we do a freehand half circle there, we're now going to measure up here, and I'm going to give you the measurements for the half piece that comes out. Alright. Alright, so now we're going to come up from the back here. Alright, and you want to measure out 460. So 420, 40, 60. There. Alright. Now, from up here's backboard, come out 200 and just make a mark. Alright. Do it on both sides, it'll help. Alright. I said before, 460 from the bottom. So just come over about 100 mil or 200 mil. Actually come over 200 mil because that's the distance the top piece actually is from the back. Alright, so measure another 460. Right, now from the back here, of course, you're measuring out 200. Alright, so it's from there, 200, yeah, sweet, we've got that, sweet. Alright, so let's get your straight edge. It'll all come clear shortly. Oops, straight edge, I'm going to do wonky line. Alright, so you got the gist of it here. We're going to do another line over here. Now if you want, you can cut this out just with the skill saw first as squares, and then come out with the jigsaw later. But I actually find you're better off cutting off the skill saw. You know, cut this up here so you've always got your back bit completely flat, and use that as your starting point. And then of course come across here with your skill saw, and then just come across here with the skill saw, bam, and then get your jigsaw, do it around the edges later on. But anyway, right, so that's your first lot of measurements. Right, now from that top mark, now you want to do is measure down 100mm. Alright, so that's how wide we're going to make this. Remember, this is a smaller machine, not the big giant one. So measuring down 100mm, make a mark. Alright, you'll see there, so we've got another 2 lines to line, make a straight line off. Alright, so you see here, if we go back, we've got our basic outline. Now we've got those dots. Alright, so now just do a freehand. Just come in here, and you're probably better off getting a different angle on it, different approach of course. Let's say if we're coming in from here, we're going to join these dots all together, right? So, but we want to keep it as a nice even curve, right? And it's coming back up to here. So maybe here we'll just curve it around like that, and then we'll go like that. Alright, so you don't have to have it. We've got the measurements pretty much a muchness. I'm just going to darken that off a wee bit, just so you've got a nice dark line to follow when you're using your jigsaw. This is where the jigsaw's for. Alright, make sure you got one dark prominent line that you're following with the jigsaw. You don't want to be following a whole heap of different ones. Right, so there we are. Just giving you the measurements. And now here we'll curve that. Now if you like, once you cut it, you can come along here and cut. And before you've cut right through, especially if you don't want to waste it, and you've got a bigger sheet here, and you're starting your next cut for your next pattern. Alright, so maybe just cut for you with your skill saw, and then start your jigsaw, and get the curves done while you're at it. But, I mean, I'd prefer to actually just come in and just cut that piece right off anyway. Right, so there we go. As you can see, we've got the shape of the course, because if that's standing up, okay, we're going to have the joysticks sticking up here. That's what you're going to, if we've got joysticks. And of course there's your screen, which is going to be in behind it. Your screen's going to be up in here. And if we're using the laptop, your keyboard and everything's going to be going this way. Alright, inside of it. And then up here, we're going to be, right, next lot of measurements. So we'll get this cut out. As I say, this is obviously on that set of drawers. It's going to be the 2 side panels. So use the 2 sides of the drawers to make this. Because we can use the top for later on for cutting down. And of course, you seen at the start, those drawers at the front, we're actually going to use them to make a few things. Of course, they were 200 wide. So that's your next lot of measurements as well. Okay, to make this, sorry, excuse the camera. Right, to make this board that's going to be in here, of course, that the controllers are going to be on, we have it on a slight angle like this, just a slight angle. I'll give you the measurements for the angle that we're going to put on it very shortly. Alright, but that board itself, the width of that, don't make it any narrower. Of course, the boards on my drawers are 200 wide, so we could actually just use the 200 wide, but I'm actually going to cut it down, so I'm going to make them 185. Alright, so we've got a bit here, So I'm going to measure out 185. There. Down there again. 185. Alright. And that's going to be a big square piece that we're going to cut out. Alright. And as I say, that's going to be for where we'll be putting the buttons later on if you want to put buttons on it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a nice wee resting spot for your PS3 controllers instead. Alright. So, no, oops. Sorry, followed the wrong bloody line, didn't I? It was meant to be up there, that one. Oops. Knew something didn't look right. Right. And of course we've got a big long, a straight line here, bang. Right, so that's going to get cut out. There's going to be a square in here. So in the future, I will give you the patterns for the actual buttonholes, the measurements. If you do want to put in a joystick here, you have a joystick, and then you're going to have all your buttons here, and the same here, joystick with all your buttons here. Alright, but anyway, so we're going to, well, joystick and buttons along here, sorry. So as I say, make that 200 wide or 100. I mean, I'm making 185, small machine. So 185 wide. Get that cut out as well. As I say, we're doing it. This is where the drawers. This is all done on a budget. So far you haven't had to spend any money. It's just your time so far. Get these two cut. Alright, and the measurement of this is going to depict the width of your machine. So depending on the width of like the screen on your laptop, you want to make sure your laptop's going to fit inside here. And you're also going to have room for your USBs that are coming out the side, alright? So if you're using the joysticks, you want all of that hidden underneath, because they're not going to get plugged in and plugged out. If you're not using joysticks, it's not going to matter. You can actually make it a tight fit where your laptop fits in and there's not much gap at all. Just enough for your power plug to plug in. And then what you do is you actually screw it. You're actually making a hole out the side of here somewhere. Alright, and that's going to be your USB slot. And that will be for plugging the likes of your PS3 controllers into just to charge them. So your charging slot. Alright. So, that hole is going to depend on your laptop. Every laptop's different to where your USBs are. They could be down here. Once you've laid your laptop in here, your keyboard, as I say, your screen's going up here inside it. So, just make the hole where it is, as I say, you can make that a tight fit then. But if you are going to use the joysticks and put the buttons in, you'll want to make this a wee bit wider, a wee bit wider than your actual laptop is, just to allow for the USBs that are coming out the side of your laptop, alright? Because you want them hidden inside the machine. But then you're still going to be making a slot for the option for your PS3 controllers anyway. So you're still going to be doing that on one side as well. And there's also going to be, the hole there for your power plug to come out of. You can either do it on the side, run a power plug hole, or you can run a power plug at the back, so it's hidden. It's completely up to you how you want to do it. So as I say, your width is going to depend on your laptop. So after we've got this, the width of the machine. So after you've got that piece cut to the right piece there, 185 wide there, the length of that piece is going to be whatever you decide on the width of the machine. Alright, and then what you're going to do then is cut out some 25 by 25 boxing or 25 by 15 mil boxings. What you want to do is cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so you want to cut yourself 7, actually maybe even 8, at least 7 pieces anyway. And those 7 pieces, the lengths of them, it's going to be the same length you've made this, alright, because they're going to be the supports that hold this all together, that how wide we're making the boxing. So after you've got all them cut, you'll be able to put it together. Right now I'll quickly give you the measurements for the holes of where you're going to end up putting all these different things, alright, and then after that, you're going to be busy for a while. Alright, so we've got the bit cut out of the drawers, so that's the side of the drawers there. And then we've got the other part of the drawers in there already as well. The bottoms of the drawers have been used. Australian is a bit different than the other designs. As I say, we're making this out of just what we've got, the drawers. So the very bottoms of your drawers, the insides of them can get cut, and that's going to get screwed into the boxing I've told you to cut. Alright, so all those little bits of boxing I said. Alright, and this here's the inside of the drawers. So all the insides of the drawers where you normally put your clothing or whatever, you're cutting them to the same, as I said, the same width, whatever your laptop was. But as I say, this is what we're doing with the boxing. So it's a bit different to how we make the actual machines. The actual machines we make out of brand new materials. That's a different video. You have to see it's a different lot of materials. It's done a lot differently. Where there's dowel screws involved, and these boards are actually thicker pieces at the top here. Like they're thicker, stronger. But as I say, we're doing this on a budget. We're doing it out of your drawers. So bottoms of the drawers at the top there, bottoms of the drawers at the bottom here. Alright, and then the front of the drawers can be the front piece here, there where the controllers are going. Alright, now when I was saying about if you're wanting to use a router, it's not an important thing, you don't have to, but you'll see here you get a nice curved rounded finish. You don't have to do that because there are actual plastic edgings you can buy, so if you just cut that flat, don't stress. If you haven't got a router, you don't have to make this round. I'm only doing it because we're going to be carbon fibre and wrapping this. Well, I am. At your end, you might be, as I say, on the budget, so you just be painting it with whatever paint you got. But we've got it all nice and curved. No sharp edges. But as I say, you don't have to have sharp edges anyway. If you have got it flat, you haven't got a router, you can buy these days plastic edging. You just heat it up and it will bend and mould round, and you just glue that in place, and it will still give you this half round look that I've got on the end. But you'll be just buying a thing. Some of them tack on with nails, some of them glue on, some of them actually slot in. You've got to actually make a grooved slot, and they actually get fed in. But of course I just prefer to do it this way. Right, let's get down to the rest of these measurements, eh? Right, so screws, we're coming up from the bottom at the front. Let's get these done. Alright, so first screw you're looking at 112. Alright, then come over about 70mm roughly, and do another one at 117. Alright, your next screw, do it 125. Alright, that's the height from the bottom. Now we're coming from the edge to get exactly where you want them. Alright, because remember the measurements are slightly different because we've got this slightly angled. Excuse me, off the tape. Doesn't seem to be wanting to play a ball. Right, here we go. Righto. So from the front of it, we're coming over. So you want to be measuring out 37, and then your next bolt, next screw is 110, and your next one is 172. Okay, so you want to repeat that on the other side. Now of course this wee extra screw here, this is actually for a support. Remember those boxing bits I told you about? This is where one of them is going to go. And what this does, that little bit of boxing is actually underneath this panel here. It's just sitting underneath it. Well, you see here the panel's going all the way to here. I've just drawn it out, sketched it there to show you. So that's actually where the panel's sitting on the other side of this. But you'll see here I've got another screw here. Well, that's actually because I've got the 25 by 25 boxing, and that's sitting under that just as added strength. Okay, if anyone leans on it, it's not just supporting on the screws. Otherwise you end up popping them through or breaking the boards. Alright, and remember we're going to have a front panel on here yet. So when the front panel's in there, that's going to support the weight of it at the front. So no weight will be able to go down and force the screws at the front. But here we needed some here as well. Not only that, this bit of boxing is also going to be what will support your screen when you actually put a piece of glass in there, or perspex. Alright, so for that screw, it's going to depend really. See where your boxing lines up once you've got this panel in on both sides. But I will give you the measurements of mine just in case it's the same. But it should be pretty much anyway. Okay, so you're looking at 112 up from the bottom, and then from the front of it you're looking at 190. Alright, so you'll be doing that on both sides. Right, here, pretty straightforward. I won't even worry about giving you a measurement. Look, I mean, you're going, all you're doing is putting a support beam in there, see? Now that one there, initially I made mine a bit thicker, so you could actually do that, put in a 50 by 25, just to give it that extra bit of strength. Alright, and just screw that in, make sure it's flush at the back where you need it. Now of course these screws up here, measurements for them, where they're going to be. Alright, so we'll measure up right from the bottom of the unit, and I'll come right up. Of course, the reason we're measuring at the bottom, that hasn't been rounded. All these edges have been rounded. That's still a square bottom, flush with the bottom there. Alright, so screw hole there we've got at 368. The next one, 434. Alright, now from the back of this to the front screws, you're looking at 175. And of course this one, 175. And of course they're going to be same at the back there to the front. What do we got? We've got 27 and 27. Alright. So again, now we're going from the bottom up to these screws again. Right. 368 and 430. 432. What was this one over here? 434. Oh yeah, so I was a wee bit off. So yeah, make that one 434 as well. That way you're getting exactly the same. Righto. So this is an old set of drawers now turning into an arcade machine. So you know, once we sand all this, that's another thing for finishing. Get a bit of sandpaper on here. Right. So this is now the set of drawers. As I say, I've given you all the measurements. So your machine should be looking something like this now. So things are coming along. You screw everything in. As I say, the screws are going in and they're flush. And that's because, as I said, with the bigger drill bit, after you've drilled your small pilot holes, you're using this bigger one to make a wee indent for the screws to actually go and sit in. It's just going to make a nicer finish, because now we can bog over this, plaster over it, whatever you've got. If you've got bog, plaster. As I say, if you're on a budget, let's say you haven't got that, well, don't even worry about it. You know, just get a thing of paint out right now and start painting. You know, it's only for yourself, so you've got an arcade machine. It's, you know, doesn't have to be 100% fancy. Right, and see here, I've even used one that was a bit thicker. The problem is with using a fatter board, I mean, it's great for strength. We've had to do it this way because we're using the thin bottoms of the actual drawers out of the set of drawers. So, but if we were using the actual thick 12 mil, 10-12 mil board that I normally use, we wouldn't actually have these big beams here. There would actually be a supporting beam just along the sides, but that's in a different video. As I said, you have to watch my video on the actual making the big size arcade machines and all out of brand new materials, of course. So this one here, of course, we're going to be restricted once we put a you know, signage here, Pac-Man or Gallagher, or you know, arcades, whatever you want to write on here, whatever you want to get printed as photos. You know, be creative. Get some bloody pictures of cartoons, pictures of games, whatever games you like. Take some photos of them and make a collage. Go and get it printed, and then cut the print out. Put it in there. Put a piece of perspex or a bit of glass over the top here. Of course, this is all going to be painted. Yeah, but of course you can have a photo on there, so no one's going to see that. And this is just for your lighting. The problem is with us doing it like this, we're limited on how much lighting we're actually getting out of here. As you can see, the gap's quite thin, so we're only going to be lighting up like a strip. But if we're just doing a light strip, let's say you got the disco lights like on the other small one I showed you at the start of this video, on the remote there you can change the flashing. Well, this would be a perfect wee thing actually to put that wee flashing unit. so you could actually have it in here flashing, going backwards and forwards, you know, and lighting up whatever's written there. So it could, you know, it could work out like that. But it's right, we'll still work out with lighting. As I say, we were doing this on a budget with what we got. So, but if you look at my other video, that shows you a different way of doing this, which makes, and also it's a bigger machine, so the gap's actually a lot bigger. I think the spacings might be 150. Now remember, the whole concept of this top bit, not only is it to give you a light display saying, you know, arcade machine or Pac-Man, tell you what it is. You know, back in the day, the old arcade machines, it was one game on one machine. So if that said Pac-Man, it was Pac-Man machine. If it was Gallagher, it was Gallagher machine. But of course, this machine, we're going to be making it so it's every machine. So you can put whatever your buddy, you know, whatever your imagination is, put whatever you want there. You know, it ain't going to matter. But anyway, so the label's not important. You can put a whole heap of pictures there. And then you don't even have to put lighting on the back. But we are going to, by the end of this, there's going to be some, there will be some lighting set up in the back of this. Alright. So now we're just going to get a lick of paint on this. As you can see, she's all done. And we'll be having a look, it's looking like a brand new thing. And of course this was the back support off the back of the drawers. See a support that actually, the support at the back that actually supported the whole drawers. So it was cut down and that's been used on the bottom. Alright. So the next step here is to paint. And then after that I will give you the measurements for the holes here. But that's, as I say, not everyone's going to be wanting that. Some people on a budget, they're not even going to get the, you know, arcade buttons and things like that. They might just be putting the PS3 controllers here and putting the game machine and putting the screen. Anyway, hope that helps. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. You know, these videos, hopefully it's helped you out, and if it has, please do subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps me out to get my videos up there and to help others out like yourself, so everybody can enjoy a bit of this sort of thing. As I say, if you're wanting, yeah, the video on actually how to make these brand new, out of brand new materials, that's a different video, and other slightly bigger machines, and the bigger machines are fully upgradable for the future. You know, you can upgrade graphics cards and RAM, everything. With these machines here, depending on how we're making them, if we're using the Intel NUC, you can't upgrade them that much. You know, I suppose your hard drive's the only thing to be, and RAM, I'm not sure if you can upgrade RAM inside them. Can't remember now. I think they've got an NVMe hard drive in them, the small ones, so you'd have to up the size of that too. But the good thing is it's an NVMe, so good for performance wise. But if you're using a laptop, well, that's going to be alright too. You know, you can upgrade it to a certain amount. But we'll get down to that soon, so get to painting. We'll come back with the next video, the last video, which is actually going to show the very last part of this we put in the machine. And you see what I've done in here. You can do the same if you've got the same problem. The laptop I had was actually quite wide, and to make sure it didn't, you know, it wasn't too rough, I've actually grooved out some holes there. Now that one there is actually going to get taken all the way. That's actually going to be for the USB slot for the PS3 controllers, and that one at the back is the power slot. But over here, this side, this is actually for the USBs that are actually going to be staying in here hidden, because it was quite a tight fit, just to get enough room so the cables aren't bent too much. What you can do is use your router or use a chisel and just groove out a whole heap of the board, so that way you've got a wee bit more room in there. Alrighty, so now I've given you all the measurements. You can put the rest of your machine, it'll look like this, and I'll be back to show you the rest on how to finish it. We'll draw the measurements of these holes. As I say, you're already going to have it painted. Obviously you can have a piece of Perspex already, get a piece of Perspex ordered, or maybe you're not going to, you're just going to have the laptop in there for the time being, and get a piece of Perspex or something for the front here as well. Alrighty. We'll be gaming in no time with your own arcade machine. As I say, you can just paint it. My advice is use enamel. Don't use the water-based enamel. Mind you, nearly everything's water-based something there. If you can, get the old-fashioned enamel. Makes a really nice finish. You'll get it nice and shiny, and then do a couple coats of clear coat on top, and you'll have this thing looking absolutely mint. But for me, I'm just going to be coating this with a couple coats of paint, and then I'm actually going to be carbon fibre in it. All right.